Welcome back, everyone. I'm here, and I really hope you're all doing okay. I have some of the best posts from our best of for you all. As per usual, I'll be reading you the posts, giving you my opinions, and I hope you do the same in the comments below. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. This post was originally posted by user Blown Up Marriage 1 in R True Off My Chest. And the tagline is, I ruined my mom's life and reputation. Buckle in, everyone. This one is going to be a ride. My 40F parents, dad 63M and mom 60F, have been married for 43 years. I have 6 siblings, 42F, 38F, 34F, 20M, 20M and 18M. I have been with my husband, 39M, since we were 15. I got pregnant at 17 and we moved in with my parents. I gave birth to my now 22-year-old daughter. We got married at 18 shortly after. My dad's father passed shortly after our wedding and left his ranch-style house to my father. My grandparents built a house next door to my parents when they retired. My parents decided to let us live in this house and told us this would be my inheritance. My husband and I had no issues with this. We went on to have a 20M, 14F, 5F, and I'm currently 7 months pregnant with my last child, a boy, due in April. I thought we had a good marriage. We were intimate more than twice a week, we went on date nights, we bought each other gifts, and we didn't fight. My entire world was shattered on New Year's Eve when I returned early from a girls' trip I had taken with some friends. I walked into my bedroom to find my mom having sex with my husband. My mother screamed at me to get out of their bedroom, which really shook me up even more. Unfortunately, my oldest daughter was also home in her bedroom across the house getting ready for a party. She ran out and witnessed my all but a bedsheet naked mother run out of our house next door to her house and slam the door. My daughter was devastated and went to my sister's house. I asked her not to say anything until I first talked to my husband. I asked him for the truth. He told me that my mom seduced me when we were 18 and living in their house. They'd been having unprotected sex at least once a month for longer than we were married. I ran the math and was horrified because the timeline meant my twin brothers and youngest brother could be my husband's. I immediately called my dad and told him to come to my house without my mom. I made my husband confess and my dad was devastated. He and my mom were high school sweethearts too. Needless to say, we could hear my mother screaming from her house when he confronted her. I then told my older sister, and she and I decided to have her throw a party for the whole extended family, and we invited my ex's family as well. At the party, I had my 22F daughter take all the kids to our basement and put on a movie, leaving only the adult children and siblings, and I told them exactly what they'd been doing. Most of the family is on my side, except my 3 youngest siblings, 38F's sister, and ex's entire family. They all say I'm an asshole for dropping this publicly. Word got out, and my mom's best friend, who is on leadership at my mom's church, my childhood church, called me to verify. My mom has since been let go as the children's pastor there, and she claims I've essentially ruined her reputation and life. My dad kicked her out, and she's now living with my 38F sister, and lastly, my dad insisted on a DNA test for the 3 youngest boys before he'd consider anything to do with their marriage. The twins are my husband's bio children. I've since kicked him out, and he's living with his parents. My father and I are discussing me moving into his much larger house and him selling my grandfather's house and him giving me the money to buy a new house somewhere else to get rid of the memories. My husband is appalled and furious that I proved he actually is about to have 7 kids instead of 5, that I'm going to be taking half his business away from him. My husband started his own HVAC company a few years back, and for the first 5 years I helped him get it set up, ran the office completely, and took time away from my teaching career to help him get this established. In my state, all marital assets, including businesses, are split 50-50. Since the house was still in my father's name, my husband will get no money from the sale. Neither will my mother, since inherited assets are not subject to be split in divorces. My mother is also likely not to get any alimony, as our state is a no-fault divorce state. I'm now over a month removed, still extremely bitter and angry at my mother, especially at her hypocrisy of calling me a whore and shaming my family when she's done much worse. I also despise my ex with everything within me now, as he was fucking both my mom and me in some instances, coming to our bed minutes later. He got my mother pregnant less than a week after getting me pregnant, and while I thought it was so cute and fun that I shared a pregnancy experience with my mom, she carried my children's half-siblings. He has broken all trust I had in men and being faithful. I have already procured a good lawyer from the firm that helped us in financial matters for both me and my dad is helping me pay for it. I need to take a second. I genuinely need a second. She shared a pregnancy with her mom. She thought that was sweet. And now she finds out that we're both pregnant by the same man at the same time. Good God. My twin brothers, one of my sisters, and my entire ex's family have gone no contact with me and my minor children, and my children have essentially lost all of their grandparents but my dad. 2 uncles and an aunt on my side, and my husband's 3 brothers due to this mess. I've also developed ulcers and digestive issues because of this, so I'm visiting the doctor soon, and I've been in therapy since the first week of January. I've offered this for my 2 adult children if they need family therapy with all of us, but they're doing individual therapy right now. My 14-year-old knows that we're getting divorced and why, and she's so angry at her dad that I struggle sending her to his house on the weekends. I feel like she's old enough to make a decision on that, but I don't want to damage her relationship with her dad. I've told all my kids it's okay to love their dad even if he hurt me, but the oldest 2 have cut him off 100%. I won't tell my youngest 2 until they're teens why we got divorced, and everyone else has agreed not to spill anything until they're old enough to understand. As for how I had no idea this affair was ongoing, my husband confirmed to me that they would have sex at my mom's office, at church, in their cars, at a motel, and when we built the business, they started having it routinely in his office once I went back to teaching. They also had it in our houses too, when my father would go away on business trips or I'd be out of town. It was pure happenstance that I came home a day early from a trip, because I was uncomfortable from being nearly 7 months pregnant and just wanted my own bed for me to find out. Knowing they'd be carrying on this full-blown affair still if I hadn't caught them is what I'm still upset about. The fact that the grandmother and father of my children cared so little about destroying our families is what I can't get past. What's hardest for me is that my own mother would do this to me and would continue to do this for years and not caring when it all blew up in her face that she would be destroying her entire family. Edit. Also, to add insult to injury, my husband confirmed in one of our mediated conversations the affair started when I apparently made him angry. He didn't tell me and instead vented to my mom when they were alone. She comforted him and they had sex. He loved it and then pursued her after that. He said he would have divorced me, but he knew he'd get cut off from her and she was so much better at sex than me, so stuck it out with me. He told me I was a placeholder. Of all the betrayal and low blows, that statement is what keeps me up at night. TLDR. My mom fucked my husband for 22 years, got pregnant with twins, continued the affair until I caught them in bed together on New Year's Eve while I was nearly 7 months pregnant. I publicly exposed it, and my mom lost her job, her marriage, and is homeless. Let's look at some of the comments. Comment 1. This goes right into the true off-my-chest Hall of Fame. Quite frankly, it makes Oedipus Rex seem like a quaint little French comedy of manners. It makes Woody Allen look like a wet-behind-the-ears little upstart at Family Disruption. My sympathy to all the innocent victims who are experiencing the fallout from this. The branches on this family tree probably look like a bunch of Mobius strips. Comment 2. Check with your state laws if in the US, but where I live, at 14 years old, kids can decide whether or not to go to their non-custodial parents' house for visitation. If that's the case with you, I wouldn't force your daughter to go if she does not want to. Comment 3. You need to change this title from I ruined my mom's life and reputation to my mom destroyed our family and at the same time ruined her own life and reputation. You did absolutely nothing wrong, and you are a victim just as much as everyone else in your family that was hurt by this. Update 1. 6 days later. I had a phone conversation with my aunt today, my egg donor's sister, and she told me there is a family history of cheating on our family on their side of the family. My grandma cheated on my grandpa for years, but they reconciled. My aunt herself had multiple emotional affairs, but is still married to my uncle. She tried blaming genetics on my mom's affair. I laughed out loud at the absurdity of that attempt to justify her affair, and my aunt is now mad at me for not hearing my egg donor out and her explanations for cheating. My dad and lawyer both say I should hear her out, so I'm still considering doing it right before we meet in early March to establish custody. Edit. I should mention, I asked my aunt if my mama inherited the whore gene, which child did she pass it on to, and how did my grandma manage to pass it on to both her daughters. So that's probably why she's mad in retrospect. I've honestly lost all sympathy for cheaters after this. You know what, I need to give OP a standing ovation for that line, because honestly, the audacity of the aunt to call up and say, it's genetics, like she's submitting a paper to a peer-reviewed journal. Genetics! What the aunt is actually saying, whether she knows it or not, is the behaviour was normalised in the household, passed down through modelling and enabling, and I'm going to dress it up in scientific language so none of us have to take responsibility. That's it. That's the whole argument. Comment 1. So it started with grandma and was normalised is what she's saying. It's not genetics, LMAO. It's normalising bad behaviour. But I'm glad you and your dad are talking about going back together to hear her out. Just have each other's back and don't let either of you all be manipulated. Stay strong and record everything. Update 2, 3 days after the previous update. My ex accused me of also being unfaithful because he was, and wants a DNA test when our son is born. My aunt exposed multiple affairs in my egg donor side of the family, and tried to claim it's genetic and hereditary. My dad and I's lawyers encouraged us to meet with my egg donor for evidence and for closure, and this update deals with the answers we were given about her choices when we did meet. I met with my egg donor, dad, and our lawyers last evening. Essentially, my egg donor said she knew it was wrong, but enjoyed the attention. The sex was great and she enjoyed the thrill of it. She kept sleeping with my dad because she enjoyed the financial stability and carefree life and wanted to stay married. She purposely slept with him after each sexual encounter with my ex to ensure if she got pregnant, she could pass the child off. She also admitted to enjoying the knowledge that my ex enjoyed sex with her more than me. Okay, I need to stop here for 1 second. I've read a lot of these posts, a lot of them, and very rarely do I actually just have to put my hands down and just sit with something for a moment. But we just went from, I caught my mom in my bed on New Year's Eve, which alone is already devastating, to she strategically timed her pregnancies so she could pass off your husband's children as your father's. That is not a mistake. That is not a moment of weakness. That is a sustained, calculated 22-year operation being run inside your own family home, inside your own marriage, and inside your mother's church. All right, let's keep going. She then said that she is moving in with my ex to his new place and that she invited the boys to live with them. The twins have visited once since the affair went public and told her they don't like my ex and refuse to treat him like he's their father. She said eventually they'll come around once she's married to my ex and then she'll have her family back. I laughed out loud and told her that she was delusional and needed psychiatric help. Then I told her I would be taking out an order of protection against her so she'd have no access to my minor children. She called me a jealous and ungrateful cow for not appreciating that she didn't abort me and let me live. She said I should be happy that they didn't kick me out when I came home knocked up. She even had the nerve to say I should be thankful she kept my husband happy when I couldn't, so he didn't divorce me and leave me a broken and damaged goods single mother. She then told my dad she suffered from postpartum depression after my birth, and my dad ignored it and her and made her feel alone, so she felt justified in hating me and to have affairs. She admitted to having multiple affairs from 6 months after I was born until New Year's Eve, and said she'd still be doing it if I hadn't ruined everything. So, my 38F sister and 34F sister may not be my dad's either. My dad is even more heartbroken and angry, but we did have both of our lawyers present, and we got it on record. My dad has already reached out to my siblings, but to nobody's surprise, I guess, my 38F sister already knew it was a possibility because my mom told her about both affairs when the twins were born, and she knew they might not be my dad's and kept it from us. My dad is devastated by that, even more than losing his relationship with my mom. I'm not sure their relationship will ever recover. I genuinely have no clue what is wrong with my 38F sister. My 34F sister doesn't want a paternity test and said our dad will always be her dad. My dad is fine with that. I sent a message to my ex through my lawyer that I will be filing an order of protection tomorrow so that my kids won't have to go to my ex's house if my mother is there. Neither one has even attempted to find new housing either, so I guess she's planning to move into my ex-in-law's house. I really don't want my kids around that mess. He has yet to respond, but at this point, I really don't care what he wants. P.S. My family knows about the social media posts, as do the lawyers, but my ex and egg donor have zero chance of a good outcome in the divorce, so I'm going to be petty and enjoy their anger about being exposed, so I'm leaving it up. They can stew in their filth, and know that not only does our town think they're terrible, so does the world, and I have permission from my younger sister to share what happened last night. I don't really care what my 38F sister thinks. TLDR, there were more affairs. My mom blames my dad for her pregnancy experience with me, and she hates me because she had postpartum depression during pregnancy. And my 38F sister knew about the affairs and never told us. My mom wants to move in with my ex and take the twins with her to start a new family. I'm taking out an order of protection against her, so she can't be around my minor kids. Right, so she called OP a cow, said OP should be grateful she wasn't aborted, said OP should thank her for keeping her husband happy, and then blamed postpartum depression from OP's birth for starting the affairs. So in her mind, OP's existence is the reason she cheated. OP is responsible for a decision her mother made when she was an infant who couldn't even hold her own head up. That is not just narcissism. That is something clinical. And when the walls closed in, she didn't show remorse. She made a real estate plan. Moving in with the ex-husband, starting a new family, to the daughter whose marriage she spent 22 years dismantling. The absolute nerve. Final update, 2 months later. Hello. Thank you to everyone who has sent me chats, messages, supporting me and asking how I'm doing. I do have an update. I gave birth to my son in the beginning of April. He is healthy and I had no health complications. At the end of March, I was able to get temporary full physical and legal custody of my kids. My 14-year-old daughter asked me if I'd be willing to do family therapy with her and her dad. I did not want to do that. I fought it, but eventually I chose to do so for the sake of my daughter and her need to process everything and hopefully move on. I learned a lot more about the relationship between my ex and my egg donor due to homework the therapist gave us. My ex did reveal more things which I believe to be true. My mom had actually tried to seduce him well before they were of age. From my ex's recollection, when my egg donor took over the youth group, I was 15 and he was a few months from turning 15. The grooming began then. She'd counsel him privately because he needed it. They kissed at some point when he was still 14, and that was all they did, meaning they'd make out during these sessions, until he turned 18. It was right around the time of the first kiss that my mom convinced him to ask me out and date me so they could keep seeing each other without suspicion. At this revelation, I was both devastated, my entire relationship was built on a lie and my husband never loved me, and also a sense of relief, knowing that I had absolutely nothing to do with their affair. The reason I believe this is true is that when he asked me out, I had to get permission from my parents to date. At the time, the rule was no one could date before age 16. My mom went to bat for me, or so I thought. We started dating right after he turned 15. The timeline adds up. Edited. My dad is currently looking into potential other cases of abuse and manipulation right now with the help of the church officials. Nothing has turned up, and truthfully, while I hate my egg donor, I find it hard to believe she'd have the stamina to carry on multiple affairs with other boys. I think she seduced him knowing I liked him and wanted to feel superiority over me. Looking back, all of this makes sense. Her treatment of me and my children in relationship to her other grandkids. I think all of this was a seriously fucked up case of her being narcissistic and punishing me for ruining her life. They did not have full sex until he turned 18, and I guess that was his birthday present from her. My 22F and 20M children are still not speaking to him, which he has come to grips with and understands they'll likely never re-establish contact with him. The twins and I have reconciled fully. Now for the egg donor. After the last phone call with my aunt, I cut off contact with her and my grandmother. I was tired of my aunt trying to guilt trip me into talking to my egg donor. My grandma is a whole other problem and is beginning to show signs of dementia and senility. She is still harassing my egg donor and calling her a whore of Babylon, which I'm okay with, but the other stuff she's doing and saying is not something I want to add to my life of stress. My 34F and 42F sisters were the ones who helped me with labour and delivery plans. My ex knew what the plans were, but also that I did not want him at the hospital until I'd already given birth and was in a better place for him to meet his son. He agreed to this. The day I went into labour, my 34F sister took my 14F and 5F children to her home, while my 42F sister was with me in the room. Apparently, my 14F child needed something from the school and reached out to my ex to pick it up as he was still on the official pickup list. He no longer is, and drop it off at my sister's house. My egg donor was with him when he took the call. He refused to let her come along, as I did not want my children around my egg donor. She apparently followed him in her car to the store and then my sister's house and threw a temper tantrum on the front lawn of my sister's house. My ex broke up with her and told her that she was too much drama and it just wasn't worth it anymore, and she flew into a rage and physically attacked him and started destroying things in my sister's yard. The cops were called. My egg donor was arrested for domestic violence. At that point, my ex, my sister and I all took out orders of protection against her due to the instability in situation. My ex moved into an apartment close to the HVAC company. My 14-year-old daughter has decided not to forgive him and told him that she didn't want to be around him currently, so only the 5-year-old visits my ex. He comes to my dad's house and visits her one weeknight and one weekend evening when I take my other kids and twin brothers out for dinner. We've established contact through a custody app and will be revisiting the custody issue in June. I will be pursuing full legal and physical custody until my ex can prove to me that he's done the necessary therapy and treatment he needs. I still hate my ex with everything in my being for what he did to me from the time I was 15 until recently, but I hate my egg donor far more for what she did to us all. I do have some sympathy for him and I truly want him to be okay for the sake of my younger kids. Edited. Yes, he has met his newborn son. He met him the night I gave birth. I also allowed his parents, my in-laws, and his brothers to meet him as well. His parents, my in-laws, and I are currently setting up plans for the 14 and 5-year-old to have time with them as well as times they can come and visit my newborn. My ex has allowed supervised visitation at this point. Not a court-ordered visitation, but my wishes, which he is adhering to as he does his therapy and rehab. And he gets regular time with the 5-year-old. He does get access to our newborn at least once a week, if he comes with his parents, if he wishes. He's seen his son at least 6 times since I gave birth and 3 in my presence. We're slowly rebuilding civilized communication. Like I said, I will allow him access to our 5-year-old and infant once he does the necessary work on himself. I need to trust that he will make good judgments when he's with them and that he won't relapse and try to contact my egg donor again. He has been through trauma of his own that he needs help with, and I want him to be able to focus on his own recovery before he tries to focus on being a good dad. As for the other divorce proceedings, he's agreed to a mediated uncontested divorce, and I'll be getting half of everything, including the business. I'm choosing to sell my shares to one of my ex-workers who'd like to become a partner. The ex is happy with this, and I'll be happy to be completely rid of any ties to my ex. My dad was able to sell my old house. It didn't even get listed as our realtor knew a family looking, and I have begun looking for houses about 45 minutes away from my dad. As for the egg donor, she has gone into hiding. Once the twins told her unequivocally they'd never live with her, and that they wanted nothing to do with her, especially after how she got arrested, she began a whole lot of guilt-tripping and blaming them. She is now contesting the divorce from my dad, and only speaking to him through her lawyer. As for my 38F sister, she got a wake-up call from this whole thing when my mother called her and berated her for 45 minutes for not bailing her out of jail. Apparently, my 38F sister has been going through fertility issues. Like I said, I don't talk to her and I had no idea. And she's been stressed out and anxious and feeling bad about herself, which is why she let our egg donor manipulate her, because she felt good about herself when she was getting all the positive attention. When she wasn't willing to pay the money to bail her out, as she and her partner were saving up for another cycle of IVF, she realized she was being manipulated and reached out to me. We have begun slowly talking again, but she is on my side regarding this all. She is also talking to my dad again, which, for his sake, I'm happy that he's able to reconnect with her. Having my son, by the way, we did the DNA test a few weeks before his birth, he is definitely my ex's, has been a pleasure and joy. And he and my other kids and my support system of my dad and siblings has gotten me through this and will continue to do so. I am hopeful that at some point I will be able to deal with my ex without anger and bitterness, seeing as he has trauma from what my egg donor did to him. I'll be okay. Like I said, this will be my last update on this, so thank you for all the kindness, love and support. Let's look at the comments. Comment 1. I actually think that was the right thing to do and not petty. This defines the character of your mother. Everyone who deals with her in any capacity needs to know she's a sociopath capable of the most sophisticated, self-serving, gaslighting, manipulation, theft, destruction, abuse, and betrayal. Similar to how predators need to register on a sex offenders registry, so should her mother's family, extended family, church, and community be aware of her own sociopathic betrayals and predation. Comment 2. I know X was groomed, but still, over 20 years, he knew how fucked up that was. At one point, he wasn't the horny teenager anymore. He was a father and should have realized the moment his oldest child turned 14 how messed up all of it was. Comment 3. Agreed. For me, that means I should have sympathy for him. It doesn't mean OP should make accommodations for him. She needs to focus on herself and her kids. I'm happy to recognize it sucks for him without implying it's OP's responsibility to fix him. Yeah, you said it perfectly. Recognizing his trauma doesn't mean OP has any obligation to fix it. She has enough. Comment 4. Holy shit, this is extremely hard to even imagine. You and your kids might need to see a therapist. I'm sorry you have to deal with this, and I hope one day you make some relevant peace with it. Comment 5. Digestive issues and pain due to stress is something that will almost certainly never recover fully. As bad as it sounds, I think you have to learn now to let go of your hatred and don't be jaded for the rest of your life. Because there is a very real chance an event like that ruins your life. Your story is truly heartbreaking, and your husband and mother are assholes for doing that to you. You did nothing to deserve the situation you are put in now, but you still have to deal with it. There is a mental exercise that helped me immensely in overcoming similar trauma from bullying. What I'm saying next might make you very angry, so brace yourself. You want to imagine both your husband and your mother being happy and at peace. I know this sounds absurd. They also might not deserve it, but by doing this, you make your anger and attachment come to light. You need to bring that forth to process the emotion. This exercise is genius because you can only imagine that person being happy when you have detached yourself fully from your involvement with them. This exercise is very heavy, so I would recommend starting with imagining someone you love, like your children, being happy and at peace, then switch to someone you hate, like your husband and mother. I promise you, if you do it a few times a week for 10 minutes, after a few months, you will get over it so much more quickly. This will help you process and overcome this trauma, and please keep going to therapy. This is a suggestion about a mental exercise, imagining the people who hurt you at peace, and I think it's actually a legitimate therapeutic technique. Radical acceptance, in a way. And I'd echo the advice to stay in therapy, OP, because what you're carrying is not a small thing. You were 7 months pregnant, you gave birth, you were rebuilding your life, you were raising 5 children, now 6, and you are doing it while processing a betrayal that has no clean edges to it. That doesn't heal in a month or a year. Give yourself the time. Here's my honest takeaway from this whole story. The title says, I ruined my mom's life and reputation, and I want to address that directly. OP didn't ruin anything. She walked into her own bedroom and found a truth that had been hidden from her for 22 years. She didn't create this situation, she survived it. And then she had the presence of mind, pregnant, blindsided, betrayed by the two people who were supposed to be her safest people in the world, to protect herself, protect her kids, protect her father, and document everything legally. That's not ruining someone. That's refusing to be buried alive. The only person who ruined anything here is the woman who chose every single month for 22 years to keep choosing this. And she gets to live with that. To OP, you said you'll be okay, and I believe you. And I hope every update after this one is boring. Genuinely, I hope the most dramatic thing that happens to you next is a traffic jam. If you made it to the end of this one, drop a comment down below. I genuinely want to know which part of this hit you the hardest. And if this is your first time here, welcome. Consider hitting that subscribe button so you don't miss the next one. I'll catch you all next time.